Okay. It is March 1st, 2012, and I am interviewing Elaine Hopkins. So, is there anything like that you just wanted to start by telling about yourself, or?
No, just ask questions and I'll fill in the blanks.
Well, I wanted to see, like, I know in your email you said you didn't remember a lot about WOW, but my teacher said that you were a founding member, so I didn't
Probably
know
was. I don't know.
if you had any, like, stories or that you'd like to share about it, or what things were like before the organization, or?
Well, yeah, Western was a very male-dominated, sexist place. I came to WIU in 1968. My husband and I both got jobs here as teachers. He was finishing up his doctorate, and I had worked for a while to put him through graduate school, and then I went back to school and got a master's degree, and had finished that. So we both got jobs. He got a job in the history department teaching. I got a job in the English department. And so we came here in the fall of '68, right in the middle of the activism against the Vietnam War, for civil rights, for women's rights. And we both went, we've been married since 1959. My husband had spent 5 years in the Navy as a pilot. Then we went back to graduate school at the University of Texas at Austin, which was a very activist place in the 60s. It was called the Cowboy Berkeley. We were involved in local politics. We were anti-war. We had seen the military firsthand and hated it. We knew what it was like. So when Vietnam heated up, we were furious and especially me, became anti-war activists in Austin. And so when we got here, whoa, a little culture shock. We never lived in a small town, never lived in the Midwest.
Oh my gosh.
We grew up in Texas, which at that time was not the rabid right-wing place it is today. It had a very active, it was all Democratic politics, and it had two wings, conservative and liberal, and we were part of the liberal group. So we were pretty shocked to get into Macomb and find out how conservative everything was. Okay? I mean, there was a dress code for women on the WIU campus. We couldn't wear pants to class as teachers, as professors.
Wow.
Yeah, there were very few women. The ones that were there were not particularly high-ranking women. At the same time, Western was expanding and had a lot of money. It was building dorms. It needed to hire teachers, and that's why we got jobs here. And it was a good job. I mean, my husband had several offers, but we took this one because it wasn't really the best deal. And we were very glad, and we never regretted moving to Illinois and getting into the Illinois State University system. So we both got jobs. Well, but mine was in the English department, and I had a master's degree in American Studies from the University of Texas at Austin. I had just finished it. And so that qualified me to teach English, and I did, and I liked it. It was really fun. I taught kindergarten once years ago, but I'd never trained to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But it was really fun, and I liked it, and it was great. But the atmosphere for women was not great. I was regarded as just another faculty wife who had managed to pick up a job because they were desperate.
Wow.
So,
even by the students, or just by the
mostly by the university hierarchy. The students were very nice; they were fine, but just the general atmosphere at WIU was very male-dominated and very sexist. So there were several new people in the English department because I was hired along with a group of others, and some of the women and I, thought, what the heck is going on? We're going to change things, and that's why we organized WOW and got active and tried to do our best to change things. If we saw the president of the university, Bernhard, who was a Mormon, we saw him using sexist language in a document or something, we'd write him a letter and say, what do you mean?
Wow.
Stuff like this.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was fun. So, but we were dead serious, too. And then I taught for 5 years. But in that 5-year period, the university decided it was going to offer some kind of an advanced credential for teachers and others. I can't remember now. But anyway, they decided they would have to have all the instructors get doctorates. And so I was in no position to go and get a doctorate at another school. I had a master's degree, but no work beyond that. And I had 2 children, and I wasn't going to leave them and go off to school somewhere. That was crazy. So I couldn't do it. Another one of my office mates, Maureen Magliocco, and I bet you've interviewed her or one of your group has.
Probably so.
She's wonderful. She lives in Springfield now. She didn't have any kids, and she and her husband took off for the University of Oklahoma, and she got a doctorate. She was able to come back and get tenure in the English department, where she taught successfully for years. She was wonderful. But I couldn't do that. And so I was let go, along with a bunch of others. And we looked at this and saw that most of the people being let go were women. And we said, you know what, this is just pure sex discrimination. There's no reason to, let me go because I can't get away to get a doctorate right now, and I will do that. And so I filed for the first sex discrimination lawsuit against Western. Lost it.
You lost?
Yeah, I mean, the conservative judicial establishment, male-dominated. I've forgotten now. I think the documents, though, are in the WIU library. I think there was a transcript of the hearing. I think I gave it to them. I can't even remember. But anyway, I managed to lose it. And they said, oh, well, the university can do what it wants. We don't care if it, fires all the women, they can hire more or whatever.
Wow.
So anyway, I had good teaching evaluations and a good record. I'm a hard worker and a fast learner and an intellectual, basically. And anyway, it was interesting because it was pretty divisive. You find out who your friends are if you file a lawsuit against the university. We got petitions going. Some people signed, some people wouldn't. I still remember who wouldn't. They're around.
I'm sorry, what year was that?
Well, I started teaching. We came here in 68, so it would have been, 72 or 3. And then the year after I was let go, my husband picked up a visiting professorship. He finished his doctorate. He has a PhD. He wrote his dissertation and finished it. He has an excellent record. He was an outstanding teacher, had many awards, and published 5 books, and had a great career. But the year after I was let go, that summer actually, he picked up a visiting professorship at the University of Texas at Austin. So we went back to Austin. I got back in graduate school and did all but my dissertation. I passed my exams. I'm an ABD. All but my dissertation in a PhD in the teaching of English, which is, of course, what they need desperately in the English department. But they wouldn't take me back. Wouldn't do it.
Because of the lawsuit, or just...
Yeah, both. So once a big organization like the university makes up its mind, it's not going to go back on it. It's perceived as weakness.
Yeah.
And, of course, the lawsuit, too, they've never taken anybody back that had sued them. That's called retaliation. That's also illegal. I filed another suit against them for that and won, but I just collected money which went to the lawyer.
I'm going to go.
Okay.
So I'll see you tomorrow night?
Call me. Yeah, call me.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Nice
Bye.
to meet you.
You having a good time?
Yeah, he's going to go hit the golf course. But she's recording me. Bye.
Okay, all right. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
See ya.
Why is this on over here?
Oh, you had the wrong...
God, I don't want you to like a hawk. You burn everything I got.
Right burner, didn't I? Sorry about that.
Shame Christmas.
Yeah. Here we go.
You got an old woman you're married to, you got to watch her like a hawk.
All right. I'll be 73 in May. So that's basically my story. What happened next?
I'm sorry. It's only 9. I looked at the clock. I thought it was 10:50.
No, it's not.
No, I won't believe it for another.
All right. Yeah, watch him like a hawk another time. Anyway, after that we got back. 18 months later we got back, and of course they wouldn't take me back. And at the same time, after a year, really 18 months of living on one income in Austin with 2 children, we were really broke after that. So I looked around for a job, and I picked up a job as a stringer for the Peoria Journal-Star.
Oh, what? I'm sorry.
A stringer is a correspondent, a part-time reporter for the Journal-Star. And I had no experience in journalism either, but I had a lot of university education, and the coursework I had enabled me to, learn that fast. You don't need courses in journalism to learn how to do that. You can learn it on the job if you have editors willing to work with you a little bit. So I picked that up quickly, and then that turned into a full-time job. And then in 83, the paper decided to bring all of its full-time reporters from out in the area, it had several, over to Peoria. And at the same time, it was embarking on an employee stock ownership plan, which meant we could buy stock in the paper, which presumably would increase. And so at that point, we decided to go for it. We moved to Peoria, but George was a tenured faculty member at this point, but he kept his job here, and he could commute, he could set up his classes for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And we still had one kid in school, and I couldn't really commute, so he decided he would commute, so we moved to Peoria. And I stayed there until I retired in 2007.
So you drove here every day?
No.
Or every Tuesday?
No. We lived in Peoria. And then I covered Peoria. I covered everything over there except sports. Really.
Oh, okay.
Then he'd drive over on Tuesday, teach classes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and come back Thursday or Friday. That's how we ended up with this house. We bought this house. We had a house out in the country. We sold that and bought this one. And, so we now have 2 houses, and we can't decide where to live. Because we were here until 1983, from 68 to 83, so we have a town full of friends that we know, and we enjoy them. And yeah, we have many friends in Peoria too, so we kind of live in both places.
Yeah.
The houses are both paid for now. The moral of that story is don't live beyond your means. And, so it doesn't cost us much to own them. And so that's how we ended up. That's how we own a house here. We may eventually move back to Macomb.
After
when we get really old, I don't know.
After you left the school, did you keep working towards women's activist stuff?
Well,
did
yeah.
you write about that stuff in the journal?
Yeah, I covered that in Peoria a lot. You really can't be an activist and a reporter. The reporters are supposed to be fair and objective, and to do that you need the appearance of objectivity. But I never made any secret of being an activist, really, or caring about women's issues. And there were lots of other reporters in Peoria that also women that cared about women's issues, and we made sure they were covered.
Yeah.
And so I went on to the disapproval of the editors. They didn't like it, but I did it anyway. I went on that big march to Washington in 1992, I think it was, just before Clinton was elected. It was a huge march for women's rights, pro-choice, pro-women's rights. It was gigantic. There were buses there from all over the U.S. There were 1 million women there at least. I think women need to do that again today. Obviously, the ideas behind the women's movement have really eroded in the popular culture. There's a lot of lies and misinformation. It makes me so mad to hear people who are opposed to abortion call a fetus a baby. It's not a baby, it's a fetus, a collection of cells, for God's sake. It's anti-science. It's just unbelievable. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think all of my papers this year have been really feminist, because we read novels, and We read Rosemary's Baby. Have you?
Oh, really? Yeah, I saw the movie. I've never read the novel.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah.
So, I was going to ask you a question, I forgot. Back to WOW, or what you remember WOW. Did they organize, like, Take Back the Night and, like, those? Because that kind of reminds me of what you just said, the march, like, Take Back the Night, they go and they...
Yeah, I think that was maybe after I left the faculty. I can't remember. I don't remember that. Oh, we were involved in anti-war activism on the WIU campus. There was a big march the weekend of the Kent State killings. Remember that? Back in, when was that? 1970. I was like 8 months pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
Our second child was born in the summer of 1970. I taught the whole year. We planned that. Took off the summer, had the baby back in September.
Wow.
It was no big deal. It was fine. But, yeah, there was a big march. They took over Simpkins Hall, which was the head of the ROTC at that point. And I was involved in that, and there. It was great. I don't think I spent the night, though. I went home. But I was one of the faculty members involved in that.
That's, wow.
And there were peace marches, too. I mean,
Yeah.
the women's movement and the peace movement were somewhat connected, you know.
Were there other, like, women organizations at the time or before WOW? Or?
There was the Faculty Wives Club. I never went to that. We kind of snobbish. We kind of looked down on people like that who wanted to, bake cookies and hear speakers about what to wear next. Still do. I don't go for that. I don't go for PR stunts. I'm more interested in politics and activism and facts. I have never been a particular supporter of the Coleman Race for the Cure.
I'm not sure if I know what that is.
The Race for the Cure of the Coleman Foundation, there was a lot of news coverage about this. It turned out that they once worked with Planned Parenthood to get prenatal coverage and breast cancer screening for women, and they recently, about a month ago, decided to jerk their funding from Planned Parenthood. It caused a huge uproar. Yeah, but this Race for the Cure stuff, pink ribbons everywhere, commercialization and corporatization of breast cancer screening. I don't like that stuff. That's PR, and it's kind of wrong-headed in many ways. There's a whole movement against that, actually. Books have been written about it. Yeah, we live close to the train. A little drawback for this location, but we get used to it.
They like to honk their horn at like 3 in the morning.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, oh, thank you.
Oh, and the house sometimes shakes. If the train is big enough and heavy enough, the house goes, oh God, you're going to fall down.
So
this house is 100 years old, so we've renovated it.
It's really nice, yeah.
It's kind of nice. It's kind of fun. What else? Ask questions.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify on that.
Okay.
The Planned Parenthood, are you saying that you don't agree with
the Coleman Foundation?
that?
They jerk their funding from Planned Parenthood. Yeah, I agree with Planned Parenthood. They do a valuable service.
Yeah.
The Susan B. Komen Foundation is the group that runs this Race for the Cure. It's raised millions of dollars for breast cancer, for screening, for research, but it also pays its executives huge amount of money. They're all Republicans, and apparently they were captured by the anti-choice forces, and that's why they jerked their funding away from Planned Parenthood. They would use Planned Parenthood to do some of their breast cancer screening and stuff, which, Planned Parenthood, liked that money and depended on getting paid to do that. So.
Does that include like birth control and everything like that?
No, the Komen Foundation's not involved in birth control. No, that's okay. Just breast cancer screening. Okay. But that's a part of women's health too.
Yeah.
I mean, a woman may come in for birth control and get an exam and get screened for breast cancer, an initial screening which involves basically touching by a doctor who knows what to feel for to see if there are any lumps in the breast. And that's what the Komen Foundation was paying Planned Parenthood to do. Well, a month ago they jerked their funding. It caused a huge uproar, and it got this whole thing about amazingly contraception going in the news. You got to read the news. Read the New York Times every day.
Okay.
Read some of the stuff on the web about this. It's unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah.
The best, one of the best sources for news on the left and on the women's movement is Democracy Now!, which is a radio show which some friends and I have worked to keep on the air here in Macomb. It's on WTMD, which is a local FM radio station. It's on at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. every day. They have lots of news about the women's movement and other movements on the left. And they're also on the web. You can download it as a podcast. It's a good source of information.
Yeah, I think I read something about this radio show. Like, how did you start it, or are you just keeping it?
No, there's a couple of guys here in Macomb that started this radio station a few years ago.
Okay.
I ran into them at an event and met them, and I said, "Oh, you got this radio station? That's great. Do you run Democracy Now?" And they said, "No." I said, "Why not?" And they said, "Because the internet connection to get their feed costs $60 a month, and we don't have it." And I said, "Well, I'll help you raise money for that." So we're on the board now. It's a not-for-profit corporation, an Illinois not-for-profit corporation that owns the station. We're on the board of that, some friends and I, and we help them raise money and keep that. They have several news shows, but Democracy Now! Is the best one. We help them keep that on the air.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So to get it out there, it's an alternative to Rush Limbaugh, for heaven's sakes. And it's
Oh my gosh, my grandma listens to him.
factual. Rush Limbaugh lies. He's awful. This is factual. It uses the best experts in the U.S. There's so much misinformation out there. People believe this stuff. It's awful.
I totally agree. I think my grandma, she's like brainwashed by Rush Limbaugh. Like, that's all
She needs to listen to Democracy Now! To find out the truth,
Yeah, I think it bothers me the most just because she is a woman, and I feel like she's stubborn. I try to talk to her, but
she's where does she live?
She lives in Decatur.
In Decatur. I don't know anything about Decatur radio. I don't know. She probably doesn't have web access. I wouldn't get it on the web, right?
She's not very good with computers.
Unless she learned this stuff at work, it's pretty hard to learn.
She's retired, so
yeah. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about the computers because we had technicians at the paper that would help us anytime we got in a jam.
Yeah.
So, but I know enough to, do podcasts, and I do a blog, which is pretty easy because you pay for a blog is basically a website that comes so set up that all you have to do is write a story on it and hit publish, and it works.
That's cool.
No programming of the website, that kind of thing. I couldn't do that.
Me either.
But you could do a blog.
I could. I've looked on it, but I don't know if I'm pretty.
You have a Facebook page?
Yeah.
See, a Facebook page is a very, very simple blog.
Yeah.
A very simple website. I don't like Facebook, though. It's too many ads, too complicated. It's complicated in other ways.
I don't get on a lot. I know there's like Twitter and stuff too. That's basically more like a blog because it's just the writing, and Facebook has like games and stuff.
Yeah, photos. You can put those on Facebook. They're free. See, that's the appeal. That stuff is free. My blog costs like $80 a year, which is worth it, because it's so easy to use.
That's cool.
I don't have time for Facebook or Twitter. I don't do those. I have a Facebook page. I signed up to get one so I could look at other people's Facebook pages if I need to. But once in a while, my son or daughter or I have 4 grandchildren now. They put pictures or something. I'll look at on their pages, but.
Yeah.
I don't communicate with them much. I don't care if they're, I'm going to the movie tonight. No, don't tell me that. I don't even want to know.
I used to be like that. Now I never get on.
Yeah. You probably don't have time either.
No. The other thing, I'm interested in so many things, but if you know anything about like the women's studies major, or like I know like I had it written down somewhere when it became a major and a minor, and I didn't know if WOW like did anything for that.
I don't know. As a journalist, once I was working for the Journal Star, I once did a series of stories on Betty Casper's Women's Studies course. I went to every one of her classes for one semester and did news stories on this. And she offered a marvelous class. Are you going to interview her? Is somebody going to interview her?
I'm not sure.
She'd
I'm
be terrific.
interviewing you and
She'd be a terrific interview.
Holly Radash. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So you only get 2 people, so... And then,
Okay. I hope somebody does Betty Casper. And she offered an excellent course. It was very interesting. And she had different topics and different speakers every class. I think it was like once a week. And anyway, I did a series of stories for the Journal Star on that. They'd never allow that today.
Really?
They've cut their staff horrendously. That's very sad. The paper's been sold to Gatehouse Media, which is a giant Wall Street corporation. They have cut at least half of their staff in the newsroom. I retired. Thank God I got out of there. People that are there, a lot of them have left voluntarily. They hate it. The rest work like dogs, and the coverage is terrible. It's really sad. This paper's trying to cut costs so we can send all its money to Wall Street because it paid too much for the paper. It's over leveraged, as they say, too much in debt.
Wow.
That's too bad. So they never run anything like that now. No.
That's sad.
It's very sad. Everybody's connected with the Journal Star and very distressed about it. There's nothing we can do about it that we know of. If the thing goes into bankruptcy, maybe somebody else will buy it that'll run it in a better manner. But I don't know.
Do you remember what you wrote about? Or just about what the class was? Or about?
Oh, I don't know, but you could probably get it. These Journal Star stories, I think it's since 1991 or 92, there are electronic archives. Before that, their libraries have the Journal Star. I know the Peoria Public Library has it microfilmed. So this is probably available out there somewhere.
Yeah, they have pretty good archives at Western. So.
Yeah, they may have it at Western too. I don't know. It's possible.
Okay. I looked online on the WIU website and it said the first women's studies course was developed in 1972.
That's probably about right.
And then, okay, wait. And then it was offered as a minor in 1987, and then it was approved as a major in 2001.
Oh, good.
Which I think is crazy. Like that wasn't that long ago.
It took a long time, didn't it?
So, yeah. I'm so interested in women's studies. If I had more time and money, then I would have studied in it. I took a class my freshman year and I loved it. So.
What are you majoring in?
English.
English? Okay.
And I'm double minoring already, so I'm trying to graduate in 4 years, so.
Okay, good.
I was going to double major, but it usually adds on like an extra year.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
I don't know, I found some really interesting things online. So, in 1986, after 15 years of repeated requests to university administration, sanitary disposal systems are installed in the bathrooms, like on campus. I'm like, that seems like that would be something.
Not till 86?
I guess. Like, that's what it said. I'm like, that's crazy. And I don't know if, like, WOW had anything to do with that, because this was, like, when I typed in WOW, like, in the WA website, these are the things that came up, so that's pretty cool.
That's fascinating. Oh, well, one thing we tried to get as women, I remember, was a on-campus daycare center. Never succeeded. It's hard. That's a tough proposition, because the constituency for that is fleeting. You know, maybe you want a daycare center for your baby that's like, or your kid that's like 3, 4, or 5, and then they're in school and, you know, you don't care anymore. I don't think we ever got one. I don't know if there is one now or not. I doubt it.
I've seen, I don't know, do you know where, I think it's Horban Hall?
Yeah, Horban.
There's like that playground outside, and I always see kids there, and I think that building is the childcare, or where people learn about childcare and stuff. Like, so maybe.
Oh, they might have one. Yeah.
Yeah, I see kids there all the time because that's where they do the testing center, and I'm in there and I see like kids everywhere.
Oh, that's great. That's good. They probably have one then. That's good. I don't even know. But that's
It'd
excellent.
be interesting to know if that was because of WOW or just because...
I don't know. Maybe the College of Ed wanted it. The history of Horriban Hall is interesting. You know, WIU used to have an on-campus school, went all the way through high school. When we moved to Macomb, we got we had a daughter who was starting the 2nd grade. Ginger, she's now 50. So we got her into the campus lab school, it was called. It was a wonderful school. She had great teachers. They all had master's degree plus. They were fabulous. Then the powers that be decided to close that school to save money, which was a terrible loss. They decided that in the last year that I was teaching, and the year we were planning to go to Texas for George's assistant professorship, and so I could get back in school. There wasn't much we could do about it, and the word came out. This is the way the establishment operates. The word came out that if any of the parents protested, they would just fire all the teachers. And if not, they would take them in to the faculty at WIU, in the College of Ed, and other places.
Wow.
What do you do?
Right.
So we just shut up and let it happen.
How old was your daughter at the time?
She was in the 6th grade.
Oh, okay.
So that would make her, 11? Then we went to Austin, where she was in the 7th grade at a public school. She did fine. She's always a good student. She was the only person she knew up here that had studied Texas history, which is a requirement in the 7th grade in Texas. So then we came back, and we lived in the country. We built a house out in the country. We had some horses and stuff. Well, to our shock, we discovered we were in the Colchester School District.
Oh.
So she went to Colchester, and she graduated from that high school. There were like 40 kids in her class, and she did fine. And she got into the University of Illinois and graduated from there, and she's a successful person, now married, has 3 boys, and has a job in downtown Chicago at a not-for-profit trade association, so she's doing fine.
That's so interesting that you brought up the lab school, because half the class is doing WOW and half the class is doing lab school people, like interviewing people from the lab school. That's so interesting that you brought it.
That's great. I think they kept the lab school at ISU in Bloomington Normal. It's one of the last lab schools. Yeah. Yeah. I used to be on the debt advisory board. I was the outside journalist on that board for a long time. That's a real interesting newspaper. And about all we did was keep an eye on things to be sure they didn't do something stupid. And then we picked the editors and the business managers when that time came around in the spring. But there was a professional guy who really ran it, oversaw what the students did. But we let the students have total control of that. If they made a mistake, they had to live with it. It was great. That was a very successful paper when I was there. I haven't followed it since, but the Journal Star hired a lot of the kids that had worked on that paper, and there's some of them are still there, and
That's cool.
I liked ISU. It's a good school. I've been trying to get one of my grandsons to go there. They won't consider Western. Oh, no, not Western. Although we say, we can tell you who the good teachers are, but they won't do it. But one of them might consider ISU. It's easy drive to Chicago City.
I don't like the city, to be honest. I didn't actually live in Bloomington. I lived in a smaller town around Bloomington, and I'm like, it was too close to home. So.
Yeah, right.
But we took a tour of Western with I can't remember what their names were. I'm sorry, but and they showed us all the different things about the lab school. It was so interesting. Like, I never knew that, like, the rooms opened up between, or that there were, like, little closets. I'm like...
Oh, it was designed as a model school.
Yeah.
It's
I will never look at Western the same. And I think I never even paid attention to the fact that there were lockers. Like, I knew they were there, but I never thought about why they were there. So, that's interesting. Let's go back to WOW.
back to WOW and the women's movement.
Yeah, I guess... I don't really know. I know, like, there's stuff on campus, like, I don't know how much... Do you still keep up with what's on what's Like is it the vagina monologues? Or
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. I saw that in Peoria, actually. And, I've seen it, so I didn't see it here. Although I knew some people who were in it.
I've actually never seen it. I'm not even sure if I know what it's about, but
Yeah, I was not thrilled with that. Maybe I saw a bad production. I saw it at Bradley University in Peoria. But, I don't know. So, the truth is, we come over here during the week, usually. My husband loves to play golf. He plays at the WIU golf course, and he's got a group of friends. They all play at noon, which is why he came in and said, oh, I've got to go. Well, no, you're an hour off, but he'll go out and play today because the weather's warmed up.
Yeah.
They played all winter. They played in January this year. We had such a mild winter. So we come over, and then he has a group of friends he has lunch with every Wednesday, too. And so we usually come over, and if there's anything going on at the university, any arts events, music, drama, we might see that or do that over here. And we see our friends over here, so we stay in touch. We come over like once a week or something. We're here like a couple of days, but mostly we live in Peoria still, which is a very interesting town. Yeah. I'm on the board of the League of Women Voters over there, and I do their newsletter.
The League of
Women Voters. League of Women Voters, an old-line organization formed when women got the vote in 1919. And their mission, they're a nonpartisan group. Their mission is to get people to vote and to inform people. Are you registered to vote?
No.
You're not?
I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what? There's an open registration period where you can register and vote at the same time, and it's happening now.
No.
You can go straight to the courthouse and do that.
Okay.
You have to have a photo ID and tell them where you live. Some proof. I think you need 2 proof, like a bill or something that shows where you live in Macomb. You can vote.
Okay.
You can take out a Democratic ballot, and you can vote in the only contested race on that ballot, which is for Congress in this district. Vote for the guy whose name is number 1, Steve Waterworth. He's a friend of mine. I talked him into running. He is pro-choice, rabidly pro-choice, pro-gay, pro-union. He's a wonderful guy, and he'd make an excellent congressman from this area. First, he's got to be nominated. The other guy on the ballot is a nice young guy who's 28 years old. Are you ready for this? He has a felony record in McLean County, where he was arrested for a bunch of stuff. He's a nice guy. He says, oh, everybody deserves a second chance. Well, no. Get off the ballot. The other guy is a very experienced guy. He's had experience on a farm. He's a retired Air Force Reserve Master Sergeant. He's been on local committees and boards like the zoning board, that kind of thing. He lives in Mason County. This is a huge district. It's a congressional district. And he's very, very a strong Democrat, lifelong Democrat. He'd be an excellent candidate, so he needs to be nominated. That's the only race.
So, I'm just making sure it's still recording.
Listen, all this Occupy stuff, that's kind of interesting, but unless they go to the polls and vote, they have no impact. Nobody's going to change. It's voting that matters. That's why the League of Women Voters is so important. We've got to convince people it's worth it to go vote. For heaven's sakes, that's how the Republicans got control of the House of Representatives in 2010. They got their people out to vote. And all the Democrats said, oh, well, Obama will take care of us. He can't if the House is in Republican hands. And you saw what happened. They obstructed everything he tried to do, including the Affordable Health Care Act, which is desperately needed, desperately. And then now we have this argument over contraception, with the Republicans claiming that if your boss in a company doesn't want his workers to have contraception because he's a Catholic and doesn't believe in it, you can't get it through the insurance plan. That's an essential part of women's health. It's science, for God's sake. It drives people like me who've been involved in politics and understands politics for decades Because as a reporter, you learn politics. Oh, it just drives people like me crazy. Just crazy. And the public doesn't get it. They don't understand. Everything that happens to us depends on politics. Everything. Everything. You know? You got to vote. Go over there.
Okay.
Do it this week. Do it tomorrow.
What sorts of things do you do in the League of Women Voters? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
To get people to vote, like, do you...
Oh, we hold candidate forums. We just held one in Peoria, and we're going to hold another one over in Tazewell County, Pekin area, a week from Saturday for all the local candidates to come and talk to the voters and be questioned by the voters. The League has a format they use. They ask people in the audience to submit written questions. And so they read these questions out, and then every candidate gets a chance to answer it or comment on it. That's the way you get a real feel for the candidates. I mean, advertising? No.
Yeah.
They can spend anything. To really see the candidates, talk to them, get a feel for them, that will tell you who to vote for. Especially if the questions are good.
Yeah.
There was a candidate forum here last night. The League, there's a Macomb League of Women Voters.
Okay.
They held one last night at the high school where they had Republican candidates for the the McDonough County Board, which governs the county, decides on mega hog farms, which is a huge issue out in the rural areas. Stink, pollute the environment. Ugh. So that's a big issue, and the county board has the power to cite these, S-I-T-E, cite, allow them to be built or not. So that was a big issue in that race. And then they had the congressional candidates, that's who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. My friend Steve Waterworth, who's first on the ballot, and this other little young guy who was well-spoken, and even though he's got a felony record, he's a nice enough guy, but he just doesn't have the experience to be in that role. He shouldn't even be running for Congress. But so I hope he loses. I don't know what kind of support he has. He says he doesn't have any money to run. I don't know about that. But anyway, my friends and I are doing the best we can do to get our friend Steve elected. Because he's pro-woman, pro-choice. That's how you protect your rights. You get the right people elected. Then the laws will take over. Anyway. So the League holds candidate forums, and they register voters. I can register voters. The ordinary registration period has stopped before the election. Now you can only register and vote at the same time at the courthouses up until a few days before the election. I've forgotten the exact dates, but they know at the courthouse. They're very nice over there. So, the students, they could take over this town if they get out and get registered and vote.
Yeah.
That's been a thought of mine ever since we moved here. Why don't the students get active? What are they thinking? They don't like it because the parties are shut down? Take over the city council.
I don't think that would be a good thing. I live by Wheeler Street, actually.
Oh, do you?
So
I don't know.
I think I'm going to leave when they decide to have another party.
Oh, that's probably a good idea. Yeah.
It makes me nervous, because...
Well, I don't know if they're going to let them do it this year. I read something about that.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but if they do it, then they can't really stop them. Unless they do what they did, in the same way.
Yeah. Well, you want Macomb to be a town that's friendly to students.
Yeah.
And not after them for every little petty thing, but you want the students to learn to behave, too, and not disrupt everything. So it's a delicate balance. It has been for years, Anyway, so in Peoria, I'm on the board of the League of Women Voters and do their newsletter. They do a monthly newsletter. I do that, and for them, I'm all volunteer stuff. I'm the secretary of the board of the American Civil Liberties Union in Peoria, the ACLU. Very important, huge. We just are watchdogs on civil liberties issues. If there's a school board that's trying to institute school prayer, that's an establishment of somebody's religion. How would they like it if the Muslims made all the students pray? They would hate it. And yet they want to institute Christian prayers and make all the students pray. No. The government does not do that. The ACLU defends separation of church and state. That kind of thing.
Are you talking about during the Pledge of Allegiance or just in general? Like...
No. The Pledge of Allegiance is the law. Unfortunately, that was passed in the 1950s under God. I never say it. I think they shouldn't have that. But, that's at least that's a generic God. You can believe it's, outer space if you want. But the ACLU in Peoria a few years ago fought the Washington, Illinois school board who wanted to have prayer. Christian prayer. Mm-hmm. There are Jews in that school. There are Muslims in that school. They don't want to sit and listen to somebody's Christian prayer at school. It's intimidating for students who are not Christians. Mm-hmm. It's against the law. The Supreme Court's already ruled on that. No prayers in the public schools because it's inherently an establishment of religion, to establish some religion. That's what got Europe in trouble for years, and that's why our Constitution says no to that. And yet the religious people in this country want to do it.
Yeah.
They want to do it.
I think it's really hard for people to separate religion and politics, They
need to just think, how would they like it if the Muslims were in power and doing that? They'd hate it.
That's what I told my grandma.
Yeah.
But she, I think it's hard for them to put either to care about the other point of view or to admit that it's the same situation. It would be the same. Because she's like, oh, that's different.
No, it's not different.
I'm like, no.
It's not. I mean, if people want to pray, any student can pray silently to himself, and they probably do. Oh, God, let me pass this test. But they don't need to, the teacher does, or the principal doesn't need to be standing up in front of the school leading the prayer.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Wow.
So I like it. I'm into all these political issues. So... Anyway, then I'm on the board of this radio station here because it does this great show, Democracy Now! And we held a fundraiser for them in the fall of 2010, and we need to do another one because they're running out of money again. Maybe we'll do that soon. That's a lot of work, I gotta say.
What kind of fundraisers do you?
We had some musicians that came, and we had a silent auction, and a lot of the merchants were very sweet and helped us, donated things for the silent auction, and we made several hundred dollars for them.
Wow. And it's $60 a month for that, or how much?
For the internet access, good enough access for them to download a radio program, and then they can put it on their station. See, it's free to take the radio station, but the internet access is not free. And we've talked to the internet company, Infobond here, and they won't give them a discount, so we have to pay it. They're in business; they've got to survive, so we understand that. It's all how the money shakes out for everything. So.
Sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained.
Yeah, what else?
I'm not a morning person. Do you... My phone keeps ringing. I guess back to WOW again.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you know why it was initially started, or like who initially started it, or?
I really can't remember. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I wasn't sure because I.
Did you find any records on it?
I know it was started in 1967, maybe. Oh, it says it was established by and for faculty women.
You got their names?
No, I'm sorry. I should have done more research.
Well, I'm trying to find their names. I don't know if mine's on there or not. I really don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah. She, I was gonna. I had something on the tip of my tongue. I'm sorry. What did I just ask you? I'm sorry. I'm like.
WOW. What about more about WOW?
Oh,
I wonder if they had. I don't remember going to meetings or anything for them. Oh, it's possible. I wonder if they had a secretary that would take notes from meetings and that kind of thing. If so, who would that have been and where are those meeting minutes? That would be valuable for you as a researcher. You need to find out who was the secretary. Again, go back to the campus newspapers. I bet the library has those archived. Okay. And see what you can find there.
Yeah. I'll email you and let you know if I find that.
Yeah, you got to send me an email or something and let me know what you you
were talking about the Wives Club or something?
Yeah, there was always a Faculty Wives Club.
If you were in WOW, could you not be in the Faculty Wives Club?
Oh, you could be in both.
Or...
Yeah, the women, I think the WOW was for women faculty members.
Okay.
And I was both, a faculty wife and a woman faculty member.
Because I'm not
but
sure.
That was rare. I mean, there were very few women. The males who ran the place didn't even think about women except as somebody's wife.
Wow. Was that just for teachers, or were there very many women students, or does that?
Oh yeah, there were plenty of female students. Yeah. But
that's interesting.
I don't know what the breakdown was. It's probably half and half. I don't know. But there were lots of female students. I mean, but very few faculty. So. And the pay the pay was not great either for women. I think I once did a story on that as a journalist, how the average pay for women on the campus was lower than for men. And then the union, I helped form the union too, the American Federation of Teachers chapter here. I was a founder of that as well. And the union finally worked to establish equal pay for equal work.
Even when that was established?
AFT? This is back in the early 70s, when I was still on campus. So I was here for 5 years, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73. It was back in that time frame. My husband was a founder, too, of that.
Yeah, because I know that...
We believe in unions. Unions built a middle class in this country. And when these Republicans want to abolish and destroy unions, that's to turn everybody into a peasant working for the minimum wage. Look out.
I already work for minimum wage. That's interesting because I know that women still struggle with being, I think, paid less. There was that big issue
overall
with Walmart, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's a live issue. The men in charge think, oh, well, a woman's income is just a secondary income, temporary. We don't have to pay her as much. And nobody in business wants to pay any more than they have to.
Yeah.
They want those profits for themselves. So unless the workers fight to get paid decently through a union, that's really the only way they can do it. They end up working for peanuts.
So how was the union formed? Or how was the union formed here?
The old story was what really caused it. The legislature used to give a lump sum to the campus for merit pay for teachers, for professors, and administrators. Okay? So if you were meritorious, you got extra pay.
Okay.
Well, one year the administrators gave themselves all the merit pay. And the faculty were furious, and that's when they formed the union to put a stop to that.
Wow.
Because the administrators got to decide who gets the merit pay. They gave it all to themselves.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, right. That was a union. They say no place that has a union didn't deserve it at one time or another for abusing the workers.
Yeah.
So.
Was there any difference? Sorry. Did you notice if there was any difference in the English department specifically, or with I don't know, because I think does the English department struggle with funding, or do you know anything about that? Or
I don't really know anything about that. There was a lot of money back in the early 70s because Western was growing. The state of Illinois was doing well.
Okay.
So the funding wasn't so much an issue. It was who got it.
Yeah.
That mattered.
I really don't know how that works either, so I was just curious.
Yeah.
or if like men were funded more than women, or
well, they would pay men more, yeah. And it was arbitrary. What the union, I mean, it depends on if the chairman of the department or the administration like you, you get more money. Well, so that's bad. So the union worked to get that more evenly done, because otherwise you have favoritism going on. It's not like you're a better teacher. It's like who, kisses up to who. That's why all this stuff about teacher evaluations now in the news and stuff is dangerous. To eliminate tenure and to base salary on teacher evaluations is very dangerous, because it depends on who sucks up to who and not who's an effective teacher. See, and that the education has traditionally fought that. Said, let's pay everybody equal money for equal work, and be sure people are doing the work.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to evaluate who's a good teacher and who isn't. And the result is it's who sucks up to who gets the money. Otherwise.
Did they have teacher evaluations when you were
here? They did. And that was a factor, and I got good evaluations.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a good idea, but not. I mean, sometimes a student just doesn't like a teacher or write bad things about them, even if they're good teachers.
Right. And so that's why it's unreliable in some ways. It certainly shouldn't be the only factor in evaluating a teacher.
Agreed.
I mean, professors especially, because a lot of their job is considered research and publication. They're supposed to contribute to new knowledge in our society through their research and publication. That's why you have a doctorate, to be able to do that. And to just say, oh, well, he's a terrible teacher. Maybe he's published a groundbreaking piece of research. Maybe he didn't even have much time left for the students. So you have to be really careful there.
Yeah.
And the students shouldn't think they're the only reason for being. They're not. Not traditionally.
The union, was it mostly women, or?
It was a mixture. And unions have some unions, and especially in education, have been more equal toward women. Some have not been, but in education, women have demanded their equal share and equal voice, which is good. I mean, listen, power never gives anything without a demand made on it. That's an old law of politics. It's not, it's not my theory. It's a fact.
Yeah.
So women have to speak up and demand what they want and work to get it.
That's true.
Hard. It's scary. It's scary to confront the powers that be, let me tell you. And they have power over you, and you can end up, in a bad situation.
Yeah, I'm just so interested by the whole, feminist aspect and women's studies and everything. Just like women have such a double standard. Like if they're strong women, then they're considered cold and heartless, and if they're not, then they just get walked on. And,
that's right.
It's frustrating.
It's hard. Very difficult.
You were talking about publications. Did you publish anything, or I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm basically a writer.
Yeah.
One of the things I did when I was on the faculty here, I was one of the first faculty members that I knew of that gave a paper at an English conference. Of course, that didn't mean anything in terms of keeping my job, but I gave a feminist paper at an English conference in St. Louis, the Modern Language Association's regional conference. I knew about that because I'd been to graduate school and knew about this sort of thing. I went to a first-rate graduate school, University of Texas at Austin. And so I did that, and I wrote a couple of other short articles for scholarly journals. And then by that time, I was out. But I was a writer, and that's why I was hired by the journal. Oh, I did an article. I did an article on my situation with Western. I'd forgotten about this. I still have a copy of it, though. And I bet the university library has it, too. It was in a publication called Change. I will email you the citation on that, and you can probably look it up in the library. I did a whole article about Western and the way they treated women. I've forgotten about that totally. I'll look that up and send it to you.
Okay.
So, and then I, got hired at the Journal-Star. I was basically a writer. And they were looking for writers, people who could write. And done a million stories for them. I won awards as a journalist, lots of them. And
do you think that other people... Did you say you were the first woman or the first English faculty member who read the paper?
I think I was the first English faculty member, but I'm not 100% sure of that. But I'd never heard of anybody else doing that. It seemed like a big deal at the time.
Yeah. Do you think other people weren't doing it just because they didn't know about it, or they just didn't care?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's interesting. Because I hear, and nowadays, like, everyone's always, like, reading their papers and stuff. At least from what I've heard, so.
Right.
I mean, you'd think that they'd want to, like, get their work out there and stuff, so.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah. What I did was I took a paper I'd written in graduate school and adapted it for the conference. Cool. And they took it, and I gave a paper on it. It was very exciting.
Let me see.
And it was interesting, too, because it was a kind of a feminist paper.
Did people respond well to it? Or?
By then, people were interested in the women's movement. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing I'm interested in, just like how people reacted then and how people react now. And I feel like there's still a big struggle, but it's maybe not the same, or I don't know.
Right.
So, I guess obviously there's probably more people now, more feminists, like, speaking out. And
I hope so. But I don't know. A lot of women just don't get it. Especially women who don't have an education. They don't seem to get it. I know women like that whose sole focus is, oh, God, can I find a husband? No. Don't do that. Have a career. Study. Go to school. School has never been more inviting, although it's gotten really expensive.
Yes, it has.
It used to be cheap. That's another issue for students. When I was a graduate student, my husband and I were both graduate students at Texas. That was before the era of computerized registration. That all had to be done by hand. There were like 30,000 students at the University of Texas. They all had to be assigned classes every semester. Well, they hired graduate students at the minimum wage to do this. We sat in the gym at these long tables, and students came up to us, and we had a list of open classes, and we talked to the student and say, hey, take this class, this is open. That's the way it worked. Okay. We did that for a week. We were paid the minimum wage. That was enough to pay our tuition.
Wow.
That is just unthinkable now. I was talking to somebody last night at that candidate forum, actually, who remembered that era, too. Guys could work at a job in the summer for a couple of months and make enough money to pay their tuition. That doesn't happen now. Something has gone wrong with colleges.
Yeah.
And the students need to rise up and stop it. You know?
Yeah, I'm reaching my my limit of, because you can only borrow $31,000 from the government. And I'm reaching my limit. I have a whole another year. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Wow.
So, and then Western is the cheapest 4-year in Illinois, and so I'm like, that's cheap. Community colleges are a lot cheaper. They're probably like a few thousand cheaper.
Right, they're cheaper.
But you can't get a 4-year degree at community college.
That's right. Right.
Yeah, that's...
Borrow from your parents. Borrow from your relatives.
Yeah.
Tell them you're paying back.
My parents don't have any credit, so... We're kind of... It's interesting. But... So... I think I'm starting to dwindle down here. I guess mostly campus policies, I guess. I wrote down campus policies and, like, WOW's effect on campus policies, or if you know any more. Like, I know... did we talk about contraception on campus already, or...
No.
Like, the view...
That never came up.
Yeah, the View, because I'm on birth control and I get it from the View, and I didn't know if it was always like that or
I don't know. That's good. That would be an interesting paper to research.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure because I don't know if I'm not even sure when birth control became legal or.
Well, it was a technological development. It happened in the late 50s, early 60s. It became widely available. It was never an issue of, there was a court case, Griswold versus Connecticut, back in the 50s, which legalized birth control devices in, I think it was Connecticut or Massachusetts, one of those New England states. Where it was illegal, but it wasn't ever illegal in Texas or anywhere else. It's just that you couldn't get any pills. They weren't developed. And then they finally were, and that's when it became widely available. There were condoms, there were diaphragms, mechanical devices, but the birth control pills came in the early 60s, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and it's covered, under my insurance and everything too, so I don't know. I mean, I'm on it for health reasons, so I don't know if that's any different, in your insurance, if you're on it just for being on it, or if it's a health reason.
I think they cover it for any reason. Most of the insurance companies do. That's good.
Oh, and what about pregnant women on campus?
Well, like I say, our second child, we had 2 kids. The second one was born in the summer of 1970. And I was pregnant most of that whole year when I was teaching. It was kind of unique. The students noticed it, but I said, hey, it's no big deal. And I was never sick, and I felt fine. And, it was no big deal. The university health coverage covered it. I think it cost $10 then. That's another thing about health care. It was cheap back then. And I was just, had no problem with that. But I was pregnant practically that whole year of 1969-70.
Did they?
I don't know how unique that was, but
yeah,
I didn't know anybody else that was pregnant like that.
Did they try to pressure you to not keep teaching?
No, they didn't.
Were there any special places for pregnant students or married students on campus?
Well, they had married student housing. They've always had that.
Okay.
Since we got here in '68. I don't think there was any issue about that.
No. I don't know if they still. I don't think they still have a married student.
Yes, they do.
Do they?
Yeah.
Is it just for married students or is it for
families?
Families. Okay, I was
family housing.
That before.
So they might say, single parents might be able to get in there with kids.
Because I have friends with children and I don't know what they.
I'll look into this family housing. It's probably cheaper than an apartment. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's behind Lincoln. Is that that long strip of?
Right. There's another complex. It's out Wigwam Hollow Road, past the Lemoyne River, which crosses Wigwam. That's a pretty nice complex back there.
Okay. Yeah, I live at Aspen Court right now. It's expensive.
How do you like that?
It's kind of like living in a hotel, except not as nice. And I don't know, it's loud. You can hear everything the neighbors are doing and talking on the phone. And
God, is it cheaper than the dorm?
Yeah, I did the math. The dorm is pretty expensive, so I'm saving a few $1,000s, but I have to pay for my own food and stuff now too. So I can't, and bills.
You have to pay utilities.
Yeah. I actually own a house, or not own a house. That was dumb. Live in a house, but I was with my boyfriend and we broke up. So it was way nicer and it was cheaper than Aspen Court actually, which it was bigger. And I thought that's strange for me, but so living in a house is way better, I think, than living in Aspen or Turnberry or one of those nice new places. So I
think Macomb is overbuilt with those.
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's Campus Point already, and
Yeah, I see so many.
yeah, I would choose a house any day probably.
Yeah, I see a lot of houses for rent, but it's a tall order to get a house unless you've got some roommates. It would probably be too expensive otherwise. To manage a house, the rent, the utilities, everything involved.
Yeah, it's expensive to live anywhere, but
Right.
I guess I don't know. I was curious about other women organizations, and I think we talked about that already. Did you have any more that you knew about, or
Thinking hard. I don't know.
or in Peoria maybe, or anything? I don't know.
Peoria. Well, I belong to the National Organization for Women over there, and they're not very active though.
No.
They have, annual meetings and that kind of thing. They could do better. They should.
Yeah.
But they don't. They're run by a bunch of older women, my age or older, who've kind of lost their energy, I think. They need to rev up.
So they only meet once a year?
Well, I think the officers meet more often, but
Okay.
they have a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. They give out awards, stuff like that, but they don't do much. When this whole thing came up about the Susan G. Komen Foundation Race for the Cure thing and Planned Parenthood, I said, let's go picket the Komen Foundation because they have an office in Peoria.
Yeah.
Nobody would do it.
Aww.
Oh, and I heard last night that the woman who is a state representative in the General Assembly from here, Macomb,
Yeah.
signed on to a bill in the General Assembly that would require sonograms for women getting abortions and greatly increase the requirements of abortion clinics in Illinois so that they have to be like hospitals. This is an effort to put them out of business so that nobody can get an abortion, see, or to make abortion so expensive nobody can afford them. So my friend here said, let's go picket them. And I said, let me know. If you want to go, I'll go picket this woman's office.
Right.
She's a Republican. She doesn't even have an opponent in the November election.
Wow.
But she needs to know people don't like this. So.
That's, well,
See, I mean, she's running without an opponent. If the damn students would just get organized, they could throw her out of office. It's too late now.
Yeah.
Because the primary's in March the 20th, and then the election is in November. She'll be nominated. And the students could mount a write-in campaign against her because there's no Democrat running against her. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Where are the student leaders? Why don't they do that?
Right.
Don't they know their futures are at stake? Oh, my God. Everything we've worked for going down the drain. That's just incredible. Now, there are other groups in Illinois working against this legislation. Of course, Planned Parenthood is, the ACLU is, other groups. Whether they can stop it, I don't know. There are a bunch of Catholics, including some Democrats in the state legislature that don't like abortion. And without that's an essential part of women's liberty. Without the ability to terminate an unwanted pregnancy, a woman is nothing but a slave to her biology.
Did abortions used to be free, or I don't understand that?
No. They've never been free. They are in a couple of states. They're covered under the Medicaid program,
Okay.
I think, but the state pays for it. Now, if there's a federal rule that doesn't allow any federal tax money to pay for an abortion, that's because of the Republican-dominated Congress. That rule could be lifted tomorrow if Obama had enough support in Congress. And here's an interesting fact about abortion. Half of the births in Illinois are covered by Medicaid. That's the health program for the poor, okay? Half the births. If abortion is made more difficult, that means more births. That increases the cost for Medicaid, which is already under financial stress. What are these Republicans thinking? They want to pay more taxes for Medicaid? It's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's also estimated that half of the births in the U.S. are unplanned pregnancies. Half of the pregnancies are unplanned. That's the statistic. Half of the pregnancies are unplanned. Which means half of the births are paid for by Medicaid.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. Safe, legal, and only wanted children born, not unplanned pregnancies. Kids that, or stress out the family, too many, too expensive. What are people thinking? It's not like the human race is an endangered species.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was at my family reunion, and my cousins were, I don't see my family a lot because they live in another state, and they were like, how many children do you have? I'm like, none. So I'm like, I'm in school. I'm only 21, so I'm not planning on having children for a while.
You don't want to be a single mom. That's a recipe for
I don't even have a boyfriend, so
disaster. I think it would be very, very difficult to have a child on your own.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
And try to finish school, and I can't even. It's so bad. Like because I can't get another job, and my job isn't giving me very many hours. And I tried to get Link, I think is that what it's called?
Oh, a Link card?
Yeah. Because other people I work with have one, and I just thought, I just thought maybe I could get like a tiny bit of money. Like I need help.
Sure.
And they're like, you don't work enough to get Link, which is the reason I don't have enough money, because my boss won't give me more hours. And they're like, unless you have a child, or you're paying for, or you're taking care of a disabled person. I'm like, oh, okay.
Where do you work?
I work at Hy-Vee.
Oh, okay.
They just keep hiring people, and they don't understand. I'm only getting like 1 day a week now. When I started there, I was getting like 3 or 4 days a week, so it's strange. So, and I've applied everywhere. I've applied at like McDonald's. I can't even get a job at McDonald's.
Really?
So I'm like, it's embarrassing a little.
No, it's not embarrassing. That's the economy.
Yeah. But I only have a year left, and I'll graduate, and maybe I'll get a better job.
How about a campus job? Do they have any of those?
They do, but they only do their hiring at the beginning of the semester, I think, because I tried to get a job serving food or something. They have the library, coffee shop, and different places that I think they do their hiring at the beginning of the semester or something. Mm-hmm. So,
what are you going to do for the summer?
Maybe I've been looking into some internships, but
are you going to stay here?
Maybe my roommate lives in Dubai, and she wants me to come visit her.
Dubai?
Yeah. So I don't know.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Unless she'll pay your plane ticket.
She said she'll pay. She'll help me with a lot of it, like $1,000 worth of it. So. And then she'd pay for everything else once I got there. So. But I probably won't because I'm poor.
You have a passport?
Yeah. I went to Mexico in high school. I'm not sure if it's still... I might have to get another one. I don't know when they expire. But
they last a pretty long time. You ought to look, though.
Yeah. I did a lot of mission trips in high school, so I went to Juarez. And
okay.
Before, I don't know. Everyone talks about how scary it is there now, and I don't remember it being that scary.
Oh, no, we used to go to Mexico all the time when we lived in Texas. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Safe, fun, cheap. It was great. Now, I wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
It's scary.
We could see Texas from where we stayed, so.
Really?
Okay, sorry.